Hello, everyone. This is Eric Mastrota with the National Digest, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to Marilyn Redmond, a counselor, medium, spiritual minister, author, and so much more. She stands as a guiding light for those seeking hope and healing. From enduring a life shadowed by trauma to becoming a source of wisdom and inspiration, her story illustrates the resilience of the human spirit and the profound impact of inner transformation. Hi, Marilyn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And to start us off, I think what would be great is really just to go back to the beginning. You've spoken a lot in your work about growing up in chaos. And when thinking of that, how would you say that carried over into your adulthood, especially your early relationships and marriage?
Well, that's an interesting question. I found out it really does carry over. And I grew up in domestic violence, mental illness, and addictions, and lots of abuse. And so when I left home, I was going to make a happy family of my own and not hopefully recreate it. But what I discovered, it goes with you. And I happened in college, I found a fellow and we got along just fine, thank you. And two peas in a pod, I found out, realized that he had the same background I did. So I married what I attracted because of my energy, and I found like attracts like. So it was the same scenario of my growing up in my marriage. And it was devastating because I was always walking on eggshells, trying to not get hurt or abused one more time. And so in my adult life, I looked really good on the outside. I performed very well. I mean, I was a school teacher for 30 years. I graduated valedictorian from high school, soloed with the symphony, did a lot of things that were very outstanding, you might say. And inside, I'm dying because inside of me was not actually making it. Wasn't even surviving by the time I got to treatment for addiction. To the prescriptions from the doctor said I was in the last stages of alcoholism. And I found out that one pill and one drink is 6 times the effect, and it was affecting my liver. And so I had to find a new path that would take me out of all the abuse and the chaos and the craziness that I'd been living in. And it took 5 years of growing up enough to leave. Oh, and so what I found out is through counseling and treatment that I emotionally at the age of 3 had shut down from the abuse, and I needed to grow a little older than 3 years old to get out of the divorce. I So 5 years later, I was able, after 3 attempts to divorce, I finally was able to be free and find out answers that I never found out as I was growing up.
Right. Yeah, and looking back at those moments, do you recall a specific moment when you realized that something had to change in your life, almost like a personal turning point that led you to seek help for bettering yourself?
Well, he tried to kill me several times. I almost died 13 times at this point. And what I found out that night, we were driving from Canada home from a vacation, and he went into a big tirade. He hadn't been drinking for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden he got in very, very upset about some issues. And at 2 in the morning, he says, "We're packing and we're getting out of here." So we packed the car, went home at 2 in the morning from Canada, and it turned out to be a wild ride. He was manic and driving across both sides of the road down the middle, stopping in the middle as other cars were coming. We almost had 3 head-on collisions. And I'd always prayed from the hymnal in church. For the first time in my life, I prayed spontaneously. I said, "God, please help me. I really don't want to die." And years later, I found out I did have a death wish and I attracted all these things that were going on. But at that time, I didn't understand that. So one thing led to another, and I ended up in treatment where I started to get answers. And so, yeah, my defining moment might have been that particular prayer.
Wow. And then when looking back at those moments of initial healing and when you were in treatment, is there anything that you learned that kind of made the biggest impact on your recovery?
By Definitely, it changed my life completely. I had gone to church for 50 years and never heard what I heard in treatment.
Mm.
Addiction is a chronic progressive disease that leads to death or insanity without intervention. I didn't know I had a disease. My disease was not just one. In my case, it was codependency plus addiction to prescriptions, which the pills, people don't know this, but the chemicals in a pill are the same as alcohol. So it doesn't matter if you drink it or put a pill in your mouth, it does the same damage. And so when I found out I had a disease, my response was, what do I do to get well? And they offered a spiritual path and they used the 12 steps for their model. And I started understanding that I needed to move out of the ego of my brain, which was leading my life because that was the prominent part of my life. And I was living a fear-based life and I had to move into a loved-based life. I had to move out of my head into my heart. And when you're working the steps of the program that they suggested and took us to meetings so we would understand, gradually, little by little over the years, I've released all my fears and guilt, shame, judgment, and those things that blocked the light of reality. Love is reality. And I was never raised in love because my parents weren't loved as children either, and they couldn't give me what they didn't have. So I had to find it for myself and move into the love that was created me. And I didn't understand any of that from the religious point of view. So I'm really glad today that they offered me a spiritual path and it's brought me into I've actually grown up.
Yeah. Yeah. And after going on that path, you've gone down so many different impressive avenues in your life, whether it be your books, art, counseling, mediumship, and so many other things. What are the ways in which you instill those lessons that you've learned to help others through those avenues?
Well, it was a gradual life is about like baby steps through life. You're learning from your mistakes. And gradually I realized I needed more tools in my life if I was going to help others. And I had been a school teacher, and when I had to retire from medical reasons, I ended up at a junior college teaching. And one of the students said, "Do you counsel?" And I do counseling, and I thought, well, teachers that involves counseling. I said yes. And in working with her, I discovered I could use more tools. And so that's how I became a spiritual minister for healing and counseling. And I took classes for becoming a past life regressionist and a hypnotherapist, and being able to help people go into the root cause of their problem, their illness or difficulty, whatever is causing them difficulty is fear. And to go and access their soul. I am a soul healer. And when you access the soul, you're actually changing the personality of the person to a love-based person. And they can move out of their trauma, drama, or whatever chaos they're in and have a new perception of seeing it from the good part rather than the judgment and the fear that they'd been living in, and see the good aspects of it. And when you shine the light of the spirit on whatever's dark, the darkness leaves. And so it really changes your life. It's life changing. And so I've gradually I do a lot of meditation, and that put me into the consciousness of my higher power. And the more you meditate, in my case, I became a psychic, which is you contact those that have passed over in third and fourth dimensions, parents, relatives, that you want to connect with. And the more I meditated, I became a medium. And I was a little scared about doing that. But as I got some classes to help support me and the confidence, I can connect with higher consciousness, archangels. I've actually channeled Jesus, Mother Mary. Archangel Michael writes a lot of my books. Paradigm Buster primarily was the first book he channeled for me. Saint Germain channeled Real Meaning of 2012 book. And they're all at Amazon. And what I found out is it's people, if they go into meditation, they leave their ego. And it's like a dial on a radio. there's different numbers on your dial for your radio, like 880 is one we have, and then higher ones like 1000. When you're meditating, you can go into higher and higher levels of frequency, and that's what you connect with. And fortunately, through all the work I've done to clear out my past, which has caused the problems, and move into the where I am today, which is if you're in the presence right now, that's reality. And I always was living off of the past trauma. Today, I can just be real and enjoy the day, and I don't have to worry about what happened in the past. I don't have to worry about the future. I can just be in the today. And so I help to share that with my clients today. And in my writing, I do a lot of writing, and I write columns and do counseling and whatever.
No, that's amazing. And I'd love to hear about your work as a medium a little bit more. From your experience, how has that work helped you help other people find healing or closure? Is there any stories that really stick out to you?
Well, I actually have several. One lady came, my fellow that I go with is also a healer, and we were working as a partnership at one point, helping people free. And this lady showed up, and she'd been given a fatal diagnosis. She was going to die. She had a family member with the same illness. And so she knew how difficult and what a struggle it was to go through that experience. And she came for help. And after we helped her the first time, I went into channel John the Divine, which is from the Bible, it's St. John. And my fellow does energy healing called pranic healing. And the combination of my bringing up where the disease started, the root cause of it, and what she could do to overcome that and move past it. And he was able to give her the energy to do that and to heal that past energy. And she's still alive today. And this was quite a few years ago now. So um, there's another story where a fellow was a retired retired minister, and he wanted to talk with a friend who had passed over. Well, most people want to talk with their relatives who passed over. So I kept saying, "Are you sure you don't want to talk to maybe your father?" And oh no, he was really upset with his father. He wanted nothing to do with that. So I connected with his friend, and his in spirit, his father showed up, dressed in black with a black blanket over his head. And he says, "I don't want to talk to my son either." And I don't know exactly how this happened, but the son started talking to his father through me, like I was a channel through me. And as they discussed the situation, they discovered it was a misunderstanding. And all of a sudden they were happy because there really was no problem. They just had a misunderstanding. And the black blanket came off, and the father was happy on the spiritual side, and the son was ecstatic on his side. And the next day, after the program was through, he was running down the hall of the hotel to tell his wife, "You won't believe what happened." He was really thrilled. One of my real special stories is a gal was very, very angry with her parents. They had dropped her off at her grandparents when she was 3 years old, and the parents went off drinking and drugging. She'd been abandoned. She was furious. And her grandfather, I knew through a spiritual program, Edgar Casey program, came to me and said, "Do you still do counseling?" And I said, "Yes." So he sent her to me. And at one point, she said, "Well, I have a thyroid problem." So I said, "Do you mind if we talk to your body consciousness?" So I connected with her. You can talk to your body, your organs, or whatever part of your body, and they'll tell you what the problem is. So that's what we did. And the body said, "You were so furious with your parents, it was really ruining your life. And we distracted you with being sick with the thyroid problem. We took your focus off of that so that you would have less frustration. And then we asked for what is the healing information?" And the body told her. Now, in those days, I used a tape recorder. Now I use an MP3 player. But she took the tape home, did what her body told her to do to heal, and she came back she was an ongoing client. She came back several weeks later and she says, "I don't need my thyroid medicine anymore." And so she was continuing to work out her problems with her parents. And about a month later, she showed up happy as could be, happiest I'd seen her. And she says, "I'm having lunch with my mother today." And my teeth almost fell to the floor. I mean, I was shocked. And she'd been able to resolve her issues with her mother too. So being a medium, you can get in contact with information you normally would not hear, understand, or know was even available. And so it's very, very helpful in a way and deeper than most people search for.
Yeah, it's all so incredible. And you've done so much work throughout your life to help so many people heal in such a variety of ways. So, to close off, I would love to know if there is a message that you have that you want people to know as they walk their own path towards light, truth, and just general healing for themselves.
Well, very good. Thank you. I had to learn faith and trust. I couldn't trust my parents because they fought every night, and my church never talked about faith. So as I grew in faith and trust, I discovered you have to release all your fears, guilt, shame, anything negative in your ego, edging God out, or higher power, however you want to describe that. And so instead of coming from the negative, you want to come from your heart, which is the positive. And so the love in your heart is what heals your life and what makes relationships in your life go smoothly. So the more you quit reacting from the past, forgive the past, and have gratitude for the lessons you learned from that. Those people actually were your teachers to get you to the point where you turned for a higher power to help you. And when you start coming from that help that was always there, it's your creator and it's inside your heart and wants to be heard, but we tune it out from the fear. The fear blocks it. And so when we get out of our head and into our heart, then we can send love to everything. And today I've sent love to the past. All those were my lessons that I had to have to grow up. And I ran from them as a little 3-year-old. I didn't know how to handle them. But today I don't have to run from the past. I can face it with loving solutions that I've learned spiritually. And I can face the future doesn't have to be the problem of the unknown. My mother had a huge fear of the future because of going through the Great Depression, and money wise was a big issue in her life. Are you going to have enough money? And I don't, the universe takes care of me and all my needs. And when I trust that, my life has become amazing. I mean, I'm really amazed. I was dying 40 years ago, and that's what they said in the hospital. And my body told me I was dying too. And so today I'm thriving, and it's better than I could have ever expected. Things show up in my life that I'll think about something, and in fact just this week I thought about something, and yesterday when the money showed up in a way I was surprised and really wanted it. Oh, I thought, oh wait, it's really working in my life. So, these things happen, but we are blocking it with our fears. So every time, instead of reacting in your life, respond in love, and it will move itself into positive consequences, positive results, better than you can figure out. The universe has better answers for you than your own self. So I had to get out of my head, my own thinking, and let the universe run my life. And each morning I pray and meditate for the God to, guide my thoughts, words, and actions. And the day shows up better than if I planned it.
Amazing. Wow. Well, Marilyn, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today about your amazing work and life. And, for our viewers watching, if you want to learn more about Marilyn's story and work, you could check out our articles where we delve even deeper into what we discussed today. And you could also check out her website and her many books, which we will also all have linked below. So thank you again so much, Marilyn. I really appreciate it.
Well, I enjoy this too. And if anybody is interested in getting my books are at Amazon, and I have several websites actually. And I really do enjoy helping people, because guess what? When I'm helping somebody, we're actually changing the universe,
Mm.
and we're changing it into the happy, holy, and wonderful place that it was created to be. Our ego just kept us out of it. This really is heaven on earth. We just need to get out of our heads and be able to see it.
Saying, great. Oh, thank you so much again, Marilyn. This has been Eric Mastrota with the National Digest with Marilyn Redmond. Thanks for watching, everybody.